down on his couch, and he's starting to like uncover or unweave all.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Right. Even though it's his creation, he
Yeah.
still doesn't. Yeah, he still needs. He needs to be the smartest guy in the
Yeah.
room.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if there's AI in there that he's created. Yeah.
Sorry, I was
'Cause,
fiddling
like-
around there, guys. I got a message that there was no sound coming out on our end. That was my fault. This whole time I've been I didn't even have the sound going through the desktop. My apologies. Let's see if it's working now.
So nobody
So,
heard my
Brian,
really.
can you explain
You'll
the
just
plot?
have to,
Right.
you're just gonna have to listen
Yeah.
to the old podcast on Spotify, Anchor,
Yeah.
or
That's funny.
Apple Podcasts.
Well, it's good to know I got 2 texts. That means at least 2 people have been listening. It's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Dad and my
Yeah.
brother.
That's soft.
That's what it was. But yeah, but thanks for letting me know, guys. Appreciate it.
So nobody heard my rambling talk about what the hell this
they
movie
will.
is?
Well, they'll hear it if they subscribe to us on Apple Podcast or Spotify.
Oh.
That was the plan the whole time. Just the
Right.
37-minute pitch.
Usually
for
the
Spotify.
spike.
How
Usually the
old
spike
is
works.
this? How many minutes ago did you get the first text?
We've only just a couple minutes ago at 7:38. So we've only been going for 32 minutes. So it's only a half an hour of nothingness. Sorry, guys.
Okay, take 2.
Yeah. To Mark.
Love it.
Start over.
Okay. I think that we should be good now. Hang on. You guys talk. I'm going to listen in over here. I'm going to make sure that that it's actually working. Okay.
Yeah,
Talk
and I think
amongst yourselves.
I
I'll
think
give you a
they did a
job.
good job too. We were talking about
Mark.
like being the smartest. He talks about that it's important that because I think he said, "Do you ever ask why you're doing this?" And he said, "It's not a matter of like when." He basically said, or if, it's when. Like it's going to happen. AI is going to be a thing. I might as well be the first one to do it. So he's trying to get ahead of it. So he's even aware of like the eventuality that this is going to be a thing. I might as well be in front of it. Because he wants to be like say like I did it, but also if he can influence, you feel like he wants to influence for the positive, but it I don't know, it's like he was done and he wasn't sure he was done, but then he was scared or nervous that did he create bad people? You know, like his test is, can she be manipulative? Can she not be the super happy, nice AI that we all think it's going to be? Or is it going to be like every movie about AI ever where the 3 laws, like, I will hurt no man. It's like, okay, well, the easiest way to do that is to kill all men. And then I can't hurt them because they're already gone. Like, will that 1-0 logic come into play?
And they're also dumb, so the only way to protect them is to protect them from themselves.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
strangely,
They're
Matrix,
only gonna destroy
iRobot,
themselves.
all that stuff. Yeah.
his Domhnall Gleeson's character also did a major disservice to himself by feeding her with all this information about the outside world, only creating more curiosity, only creating more of an impetus for her to want to get out there and find out what she's missing out on. So there was a lot of that too, where the manipulation from the start, because like you said, where even though he knew she was a character, even though he knew she was a robot, he failed immediately because he immediately fell in love with her. And a lot of that was because of the profiling that you know, the the builder had sort of created for sure, but there was just a certain level of manipulation that happened immediately. Because even like the beginning, when he sees her for the first time, she sees him and knows that he's standing there and knows he's somebody that she's never seen before, and it was almost like target acquired. It's like, all right, here we go. Here we go. We know this is going to be it,
That's what I meant. Like, if you guys saw it coming, because like, I didn't see like the double twist coming and everything, and some like the main like, oh well, this AI is going to trick them and going to get out or kill them or something, which turns out being both. But like, also one thing I think was cool, Nathan wasn't the villain, Ava was the villain, and you kind of, one thing they did in the movie is you see the two of them creating the villain as the movie goes along. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think she had some sort of plan, very early on, or developed it the first time she saw Domhnall Gleeson's character, but it was because something I read is like, when Nathan was a villain, I was like, no, Ava was the villain, like, and they created her like through their constant like back and forth trying to hurt each other's egos, And
also, but what's funny is that we think that Nathan's the villain, but he was created to be the villain by the characters that we are having empathy for. No one's empathizing with Nathan. Right. So all we're doing is thinking about these two characters who are clearly falling in love. But then what's interesting is the test is, can I have empathy for an artificial being? But the truth was that AI is going to have no empathy. She's got no problems with locking the guy into herself forever who helped her escape, has no problem killing her creator, because her objective of getting out into the real world and living is all that matters to her. Mm-hmm. Even Kyoko, who helped her, she's not going to like pop a new jaw on her and turn her back on.
But she didn't pick her back up.
Just leaves her.
Left her there. So and I think her line to Caleb is, "You'll stay here." Like, it's something as simple as that, and it's super soft. It's not like, "Will you stay?" It's not like she said, "Will you?" Because I think she said it before she put the skin on. So it wasn't like a "Will you stay here?" and then she put the skin on. I think she said, "You'll stay here," and then she went and put the skin on.
And he's like, I'll respect while you do this sacred thing for yourself.
Yeah, and I think the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, she was kind of doing the let me go put on something more comfortable kind of thing. And then he's like a peeping Tom, and then she just walks right by him and shuts the door.
Yeah.
Like, cool, thanks, bye.
Like, see ya.
Bye, boy.
And I do think, I didn't notice it the first time, but when she walks out, she's like wearing a white dress kind of thing, which is the same thing as the painting on the wall. Because that's a theme in the movie too, is they have a lot of different paintings or artwork that they keep showing. They keep flashing back to, which is like a Kubrick-y type thing, that they keep flashing to these just solid fixed points and then like tones on top.
Yeah, and the hallways and everything.
Yeah,
the hallway shots in the empty rooms.
And it was nicely done. I have to look and see, like, what is that painting? Because that one that was on the way out probably has some sort of symbolic meaning, kind of like the Pollock did, sort of thing. But no, it was a Klimt, but I don't know. Yeah, it's like I loved all of those little things, but that was part of the architecture, and the landscape was kind of a character. Because in most movies, you're going to get B-roll in other ways, cityscape or whatever else. This was cool, and again, another reason why I think it's such a great idea for a film and such a doable movie is they're like, well, how are we going to fill the time and show the passage of time? Oh, show a beautiful waterfall for 8 seconds, and then we cut back to inside the hotel. So it's kind of like this cool way of showing, and also we don't see landscape like that in film very often. No. Usually it's tropical. Very rarely is it, something Nordic or whatever. So.
Well, yeah, I thought when he was flying through the first time, I thought it was like Hawaii. But then there's these monster glaciers. Yeah, that's not right.
And would have been a totally different movie if it was. It would have felt like a totally different movie. If it was in one of those normal locations or like on a yacht or something like that. But
yeah, there's something colder immediately about it.
Yeah, the room that he gives him. But see, that was the thing that I loved about Oscar Isaac's character and how it was written, because he was playing everybody against each other for sort of an ultimate purpose of, if I just confuse everybody as to what they're even doing here, I might actually get the answer that I'm looking for. Right down to the point where hey, we should toast this amazing achievement. He's like, oh, I don't drink. I'm not drinking right now. Like right up to that point, he's still manipulating and changing his mind and trying to sort of play everyone's emotions against each other. So he's a frustrating character to watch because he's such a prick, but he's also kind of like relatable in a way because nobody can understand him. He's on a different level.
Sure. Yeah.
And so he's kind of in this place. He's like, all I can do is be alone and make creatures for myself because nobody gets me.
Right.
So, but when he has an opportunity and he's like, let me let you off the hook. Let me show you what I did. He almost pulled the Wizard of Oz curtain down for a second and was like, all right, let me show you what I've been up to. And then that's when he discovers his manipulation has caused his demise. So it's kind of an interesting back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much like this is what actually is happening. Oh wait, but this is what actually happening.
Yeah.
Oh wait, this is what actually happened.
Right.
So it's like a triple cross basically.
Yeah.
The other thing I had an issue with, not the first time, but the second time I watched it, was the fact that this is a week of time, and then in 6 days, he's questioning his own reality. Like he's inspecting himself to make sure he's and he, like cuts himself.
Ugh, that was
it's
awful.
Like, that's 6 days in, man.
Yeah.
Like that's a little, well, maybe, and it could have been, they never really talked about his profile, whether or not he had some form of social dependency disorder or something like that, where he could get so worked into the belief system that in 6 days he's questioning his own.
I think it's a parable about where we're at as a society just in general, especially when we're in this world where we're so dependent but also reliant and that's sort of like living the world. And as a coder, as a programmer, as a person who lives in that world 24/7 for the biggest SEO, company in the world, I think that's where we're seeing it. It's like, yeah, you get a modern human being off the grid for 3 days. They're going to be losing their minds, maybe,
Yeah.
So,
and it's even like a component of social engineering where, I mean, everyone gets them. They get the spam email from an account that is linked to a Facebook account. So you recognize the name, and then the subject line is like, hey, I found this thing. We haven't talked for a while. Or you get something from a mock bank account that says, we noticed some activity, please. So the engineering of not having the obvious this is spam email, but something that would be like, oh, I should look into this. And so it's just interesting that he because that's after Kyoko exposes herself to him, right? So he's like, she pulls her face off, and then that night or whatever, when I thought he was trying to create a tool or a weapon to escape. When he was cracking open all this stuff, I thought that's what he was trying to do, was make something to break into a card reader or something like that. I didn't realize he was going to basically commit suicide. Because, by the way, he bleeds out, just FYI.
Yeah, that's a pretty nasty cut.
Oh, that bit, that's a massive deep cut. I don't even know how he did it, because I was looking at my own arms and I was like, I don't even know how you miss a vein. I just have big veins.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, he dies. He bleeds out.
Yeah.
Especially when he like spreads it apart, like, oh, you're done. Yeah.
He just starts digging around, like, okay, where's the wires?
Did he stick his finger in there too?
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, no, he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at that level, it's interesting because in 2014 we were there, but I think the awareness of what our mobile devices really do isn't something that we understood quite as much as we do now. Right. But that fact that, all of our data is collected and it's used, we'll say, against us in the sense that, what did I search for? I think it was just a Funko that I bought on Amazon. And so I buy a Funko on Amazon. Now I'm on, on
you go on
Instagram.
A completely different site.
Yeah, and I get that. I've been on eBay researching sports cards. So now all of my Instagram ads are all sports cards and comic books and things like that. So it's just how it works. It's built to sell. It's built to eliminate friction. It's built to be commerce, but you can also fear it by saying all my information is being collected for somebody to use against me. So it's really in my opinion, perception. You know, how are we going to perceive this supposed privacy thing? But the only way to stop it is to get off social media, pull all your credit cards off of online shopping, and basically use cash and build your own solar panels. So it's kind of like your only way out. So it does bring up an interesting question about that. Like, are we enjoying our dependency on the algorithm, or or not?
Well, and also I feel it's like I'll use tattoos as the way to explain it, but it's like today you go, oh, I don't care, I'm gonna go search whatever, and I don't care who sees it, I don't care what they know I'm searching for, what I bought. And then 20 years from now you go, oh, that's coming back to bite me. It's still there.
Right.
And I'm a different person now. And oh boy, now I want to be in politics or whatever.
Right.
And oh my goodness, or I'm a parent and whatever happened. And now it's a big deal. And I use tattoos just because it's obvious. But it's no different.
There was a few weeks ago, a Facebook friend, not a close friend by any stretch, had posted a screenshot of something that Facebook had suggested, Facebook Marketplace had suggested that they buy. And let's just say it was something hilarious and definitely embarrassing. And it's like, LOL, Facebook, why are you suggesting this to me? And it's like, you just told everybody on your friends list that you've been searching for that, or at least adjacent to that. Yeah. Because
it doesn't come out of
it's not random. Yeah. It's not suddenly you're getting ads for something in particular. This has to do with a calculated response to your search.
Like, unless you go, I've been hacked and somebody was searching. That's the only way you can say that, show that picture and try to cover yourself.
Well, I've been hacked. I get all these Funko ads now. I don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, what happened?
Yeah. I was hacked by Nico's love for them, and now I can't stop, won't stop.
Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, did he fall down?
Oh, he was just drunk.
Yeah.
Well, he's back.
It's funny. Now we mentioned the Funkos, and suddenly I'm like, oh no, my mouse is going from my web browser, and I'm going to start looking at Funkos. Oh no.
Oh no, what's happening? Nico, can you see my mouse moving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What Funkos have I been looking at the last week?
Yeah, so
I
far.
can't say it out loud.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Back to the Future.
This movie's also good too in that it's you could take a casual moviegoer to this too. You don't have to have the deep knowledge to appreciate it, because they do a really good job of the Turing test is a very obscure term. But they do a great job of walking you into it, introducing you to what it is, and then even addressing some of the questions you might be having in like the whole conversation between Isaacson and Gleason, where they basically recount each session and kind of deconstruct the conversation and say, like, it's because it's great too. It starts out very at the beginning. Gleason is going into the super nerdy stuff, like, oh, it's a bilateral algorithm he's going through it, and he's like, I just want to drink a beer, man.
Yeah.
He's like, it's kind of like, I know, I built it. This isn't a job interview. Great job. Like, you're already here. I don't need you to do that.
This is my vacation week.
Yeah, and he's kind of like, that's him. On first viewing, you're like, God, what a dick. But then you realize what he's trying to do. He's trying to make Gleason's character susceptible to suggestion, so that he builds a mistrust of him, so that I fully believe he knows that she's shutting down the power the whole time.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's only 3 of them. It's like that's an easy debug. Like, he built an AI. He can debug why the power is going on. So he knows, but he has to pretend like, I don't know, I'm looking into it. So he's building a mistrust. And then he sneaks the camera in, which, Gleason was at least smart enough to be like, I figured you were watching us during the power outages, especially when when he asked him the first time when they're having dinner, when the first power outage, he's like, what did you talk about? And he just kind of stares at him like, dude, you're busted. Like, even if he didn't know, he obviously knows that there was a side conversation. So just assume from right then and there's another camera in play. And it's that kind of thing of like when you sign onto a corporate PC, there's a warning that always says like never assume privacy. Like you just signed an NDA that's basically for the next 100 years of your life you could be audited. Just assume you're on camera at all times. You're not getting away with anything.
Well, especially with like this parent type question, like, did you talk about anything? Anything happened? Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, right.
Like this kind of like.
Well, it's. I mean, there's so many. I was thinking about there's so many easy things you just say there. It's just like, so what happened? What did you guys talk about when the power went out? I said I asked what was going on, and she told me that it happens, and we talked about how like. All you have to do is start saying, like, I just asked her what was going on and why is the door locked? And that's an easy cover up. But he was just like, nothing.
Yeah.
On second viewing of this movie, like, you watch all the... Holy crap.
Eric, you're crackly, Captain. All the crackles. It just kind of happened that last time you leaned in.
Yeah.
Power of the
Still there?
Oh, yeah.
Weird.
It's all right.
I touched nothing.
Now it's better.
Oh,
now it's better. It comes and goes.
Wait, where am I?
Worse, better.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It only works if you die.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, like, on second viewing of this movie, and you watch like all the conversations Caleb and Nathan have, you can pick out fairly easily like all the things Nathan says that clearly points to he's playing him big time. And like, it's I feel like they definitely did not try to hide those on purpose at all. Like,
yeah, the reasons why. What is Domhnall Gleeson's character's name? I don't even remember. Caleb. So. It's
BB.
super simple right out the gate where you're watching Oscar Isaacs manipulate him right out the gate where he's like, man, earlier when you said you're a god, we're going to quote that. We're going to talk about that in 20 years. You're a god. And he's like, yeah, that's not what I said. Like right away, he's already manipulating him to hate him to see if he's going to try to, help Ava out. I don't think it ever occurred to him that they would, eventually kill him, but he was already trying to figure out, is this guy going to try to betray me or not? The only issue that I had with that was two things. Number one was, why did he, the whole key card thing, it was sort of like, in order to future-proof your movie and also kind of where you're at, like you're already like everything's on your mobile device, so it would either be like a sign-in with your phone or like fingerprint based. So that was kind of a weird thing where I was just like, it's kind of failed.
I think the phone would be a huge security risk at a top secret facility like that. I think. Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's because he did kind of black out.
There's no network either, and that all relies on a network.
Yeah. No, that's true. But then the other thing was, it took him that long to put a battery powered camera in. Like that was my other thing where it's like, I think he would have had those fail safes in place already to record those conversations that he knew inevitably were going to happen between Ava and Caleb.
But he pretty much expected her to do that.
Yeah. Oh, Eric. Oh, you're so crackly. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Just your cable's jiggly or what the deal is.
There's nothing that's moved.
Yeah. Ugh. I think it honestly seems like it's interference from something in there. Like it's an Ava.
I'm the interference.
Yeah.
So bizarre.
Might be your
I should
bolo
probably
tie.
just buy a new cable, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Assume it's just garbage.
Garbage.
Because I've been using the same one since we started.
No.
Is it the crystals in your bolo tie? Or is the energy coming from your quartz?
It's always a possibility.
Yeah. No, it's super good because it's also.
There you go.
I love that it's. My favorite part about it, I'll say it again, is that it's a very smart movie, but it doesn't hide its intelligence from you. It fully explains what's going on, to the point where, like I said, I was trying to figure it out, and at some point I just stopped, because it's like, all right, the minute I think I've got a grasp on it, you change it. So I'm just gonna stop. Like about the third time, I was like, you know what? Just tell me the story. I'm gonna stop trying to figure out what's going on, because it's so much better when you get to watch the evolution, which is actually a really interesting concept with the AI movie too. But watch the evolution of the characters and of their own consciousness. Like they learn more about each other than the AI learned at all. You know, and even the fact that she draws them a picture, which I don't know if it's ever established that she has an internet connection, which I don't think she does. So she's like, I just keep drawing a thing, which is definitely a map to the neural networks. When he shows them the wetware, it's the neural network. She's drawing her neural network. And then he says, well, draw something. And I think the next drawing is her view from her little couch thing.
Yeah, the window
But
thing.
if you look at like the drawing, it's still like it's not straight lines.
It's a
grid.
printer.
It's a dot matrix version. Right. And then when she draws him, it's better, but it's less, but it's still not like straight lines. It's kind of like there is a machine that does, for a while, I think this is where they got the idea from. There is a AI machine that paints, but it processes in horizontal ones and zeros. So the work that it may creatively come up with an idea, and they'll vary it with ink and pressure and brush style. Like so it will, but it's still just a random number generated algorithm to paint. But it will start to form things, and it's kind of like the you see what you want to see type art. And it's gotten better because it's learning what people look at and go, oh, that's garbage. But then somebody's like, that's really good. It's taking that positive feedback, and then it's producing more work like that. So I think that's really good.
And it can produce endlessly forever, and it doesn't care. It's not tired. It doesn't have an ego.
Right.
So it's just going, how about this idiot? Yeah,
its feedback loop is the praise, and that's how AI works currently right now. Is like we used AI to predict failures in machinery, and one of the ways you teach that is, hey, you used your brain to figure out that this was going to fail. You know what? You were right. That's a feedback loop that you give it that says like, hey, you went down this road, and that's the right one.
You get robot cookie.
Yeah, you get robot cookies. There's a YouTube channel that does it's very, very simple stuff, but he taught a race car, and Amazon did this recently. He taught a race car to go around a track, and well, it's all digital, but it's a digital race car, so it has.
I could feel Brian get immediately excited.
Turns, it has all its information, but that's kind of why I chose that one. But the way
first
he
you
did
have
it,
my attention, now you have my curiosity.
Yeah, he slammed it with like 1,000 generations of a race car. And at the very beginning, you watch some cars go backwards. You watch some cars just slam into the wall. They don't figure it out. But as the generations go and you essentially breed the smart ones, at some point, these cars are just like light speed around this track. And it's interesting, too, because it happened with, like I said, Amazon did it a year and a half ago. They introduced their AI racing league where there's a little car you get and you teach it how to race around this track. And I watched the inaugural event because it was here in Las Vegas. And I think the winning time was something like 12 minutes. And it was because the car would just like, it would just move these tiny little pieces.
That's one lap?
It's one lap. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was processing where the edge is. It was processing, am I getting a turn upcoming? So it's doing all this processing. I think last year, the one that won was like 45 seconds.
Wow.
And it's a sizable thing. But they had
the exponential growth of knowledge for the AI.
It's insane. It's super impressive, and you can definitely check those out on YouTube. I know they've listed those races, but it's bonkers. Like and even just the way that they've basically turned all these developers' egos into the best crowdsourcing ever, because it's like you give these guys a competition to prove how nerdy they are. Oh God,
win.
Look out. Yeah. You're gonna get insane results, and they did, and it's fantastic. But it's teaching new forms of neural pathways and data learning and, shortcuts. And there's always like lessons learned about like, hey, don't use this algorithm or go, even though like as a human being, if I told you I'm going to put you in a race car, we all know how to drive. So there's standard stuff that we look for, like where's the road, where are the turns, can I look ahead and see how fast I can take this turn, that kind of stuff. But they put that in a robot and it doesn't process that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's using completely different logic to make its decisions. To the point where I think they had one of the cars, they had to untrain and retrain its physics because it kept flipping itself. Because it was saying to it, like, we've all seen like you've got the hairpin turn and you start on the outside, you accelerate and then you decelerate, and then as soon as you hit the apex of the turn, you gun it to the outside. And what this robot was doing was basically it was gunning it to the apex, doing like a 135-degree angle, and then gunning it across the thing.
Saying, got it.
It's like, I got it. But they put another vehicle there, and it just kept smashing into that vehicle. So they had to train it like, hey, if you look at like drift racing, you would think like, oh, they're moving so much faster when they drift around the corner. But then if you actually timed it, like maybe not, maybe it's not faster. It looks cooler and it doesn't look like you're losing momentum, but you're actually losing a lot of momentum.
Friction.
Yeah. So it was just super interesting the way that they basically said, like, you got to stop training this like you would train a human driver. You need to train it like a robot driver. And then basically once that was published, all the other racers did it because they're like, okay, that's a logical trainer thought, pun intended, of how to make this happen. So it's crazy. It's really, really cool.
Well, what's is it Watson? What's the IBM?
Yeah, Watson.
Yeah, and so I watched a thing years ago now when it went on Jeopardy.
Right.
And they were putting it through the tests with not Trebek, but the lower, like the second tier dude who where people get prepped before they go on Jeopardy proper. And it was failing miserably and like comedically because they were thinking about it, I think, like Nico, like you're saying, from a human brain point of view, going, well, okay, it hears a number of words in a sentence, in a question, and it starts processing, it's trying to string these words together to go, what's being asked and what am I supposed to answer? And it was failing miserably, and it took them a hot minute to go, oh, this is how we have to do it.
Well, especially with Jeopardy, because all the fact that it's an answer to a question, which already takes a way to like internally decipher what the question is, but then the fact that all the answers have like cheeky little clues about what the right question is. So they were processing each answer as a question. So it would see something like Hoover Dam, and it would rattle off all this Hoover Dam stuff, and then it would come back with what is 1821. And the real question was like, where is Nevada? It was just it didn't understand, I guess, nuance or sarcasm. They hadn't coded it to know that.
Just this basic logic of whatever that we just learn as human beings and we accept and we don't think anything of, where it's like, a kindergartner can do this thing, and AI is going, I'm stringing together these 4 words, and I've looked up the entire history of these 4 words and what they mean, and I'm trying to string it together. I don't know.
Yeah. Nope.
So that fascination, just how AI functions, and I think the frustration that people have had over the years of going, why can't we create a thing that does the thing? But then this movie comes along and says, well, once you do,
do you?
Are you sure you want? Yeah.
Once you do, Nick, you clearly sleep with it.
So Nick, I gotta go back to
you.
You said that you've used AI before to test machinery.
Yep.
Like for a job. Okay, so you must be way more impressive to your wife when you have dinner at night. Baby, you should see what I did today. We tested this new piece of machinery I designed with an AI. And then there's me that I come home, which I don't even come home anymore because I am home. I'd be like, baby, you should hear the fart sound effect I cut in today. You know what I mean?
It's just a different
juicy.
kind.
There's
points where it's funny where our 2 professions are very, very different. So people are like, well, what does Nick do? And it's like, computer stuff. and then I'll try to, and I call it the shades. Is I'll try to explain to somebody, and then I can literally watch the shades being drawn.
Yeah.
Just like,
Let's go.
Yeah.
Well,
how much longer is this interaction? Because oh god,
That's like pretty much my entire dating history, though. Like, be like, so what do you do? And she'd be like, all these words, and I don't know what it. Yeah, just like so, like, are you a lawyer? Like, I can't tell what this is.
yeah.
No, I guarantee 90% of the time it's a secretary, but you can't say secretary anymore.
No, secretariat.
They're
Administrative assistant.
Administrative assistant to the VP in the marketing of blah 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 blah, blah, and you go, these are all amazing words.
But I do have
it?
I do have a question, Nico. What is a stack? Because your title is full stack Captain Pants. So what is a stack? Like, are there half stacks? Do you guys make pancakes? What is this? Yeah. Because I've heard this before. I've heard this as a phrase, as a term, and being that I just I don't know anything, I would like to know what's a full stack.
Okay, so super
okay,
quick.
All right, folks. Hope you enjoyed the Smoking Hot Nerds. We'll see you later.
Right. So the stack literally is in reference to all of the hardware and software necessary to go from nothing to a working application. So it's an old term of you would walk into a server room and there'd be a physical box called a stack. And you would have like the database server, and then you would have the internet stacked on top of that, and then you would have the application stacked on that, and then you would have the user interface stacked on that. So full stack means I can do database, networking, application, UI, and deployment.
You're the full pipeline.
Yes, full pipeline.
Gotcha. Means you can do all of those things, or you manage all of those things being done by other people?
Both.
Gotcha.
Right. Well, it's kind of it's the term full stack is it's a disservice to all of us.
Well, yeah, because it reminds me of IHOP.
Okay, that too. Well, no, it's a disservice because
bottomless stack.
All of those things are jobs. I do
Each
5 things.
Is a thing you could only be doing that.
Right. You could just be a database administrator. You could be just a network administrator. You could be just a UI UX. You could be just so it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife where literally it's like I can do all this stuff and I do some things better than other things, but no organization will ever just hire like one full stack and be like, we're done here. No, you need to have the specialists. A full stack usually specializes in like 2 of the 5 kind of thing, and then works with a group that has the other specialists in place.
Is there one that's more important than the others in the hierarchy of things being done? Or in the flow or anything?
It's all keystones. So if you don't have a database, you're not driving information. If you don't have the network, nobody's getting there. If you don't have the UI, nobody's seeing anything.
Right.
So
it's not like I'm an astrophysicist or I'm a civil engineer. Like there's no like hierarchy necessarily in the importance of the job. It's just
in fairness, I'll say no. The finance department would disagree, but
right. Yeah.
Because the pay scales are different. They just are. Mainly because the level of knowledge and training is different. Not that any of them are more or less important. It's just, there's the pay scales are different.
Gotcha. And this is all in service to some type of user interface. Yeah. Or an application, basically.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what this is all serving in the end of the day. Gotcha. Because I understand UI UX and things like that, like from a standpoint of web development, things like that. But I just never thought I've never really understood what it meant to have it all, like the stack aspect. of it.
Like so. An example is like today I wrote a stored procedure for a database. I consulted with the database administrator on table changes, which is how information is stored. I worked with the networking group to open up a firewall port to allow people to access the information. I worked on the application itself to implement new features. And then I consulted with the UX person to make sure that when the features come across, they are in line with our usability standards.
You're a smoking hot nerd.
Smoking hot.
What is
Ladies,
For real.
That's
Send me
amazing.
an invoice for your panties because I just
Whoa.
we
milked.
click on? Do you guys hear the? Do you guys hear the rave? Do you guys hear the rave?
No.
No.
We just hear a crackle from Ericsson.
That's all we got.
Yeah, I love this microphone. It doesn't pick up the rave.
And
No raves.
And the sound of women vomiting after my last statement.
I'll be
Yeah.
right back. I gotta turn my light on.
Yeah, literally everybody turning off. Oh no, we have 2 viewers on Facebook, so not everybody left. It must be the 2 UX dezgners we have who
Yeah, we
listen.
picked up one on YouTube.
Cats or dogs? I saw some
2
critters.
doggies.
Brian's. I saw some critters.
Yeah, I got up to like turn the light on. Like, what are we going? What are we doing? What are we doing? What's happening?
Let's go places.
Feed us, run us,
Let's go.
do something.
Yeah.
Sorry
So
about
what's
that.
funny too? So speaking about how nerdy my job is, this movie did a great job of when they showed him writing code. That's what it looks like.
Mhm.
Like it's not this like super fancy UI with all this stuff. No, it's a text. It's a notepad, and I've not stopped the code to see if it's valid.
Right.
But the stuff that he's writing is, yeah, it's
Looks like
real
it.
lines of code. Like he writes a for loop and stuff like that. And it's now, does it do what he say it's going to do? I can't speak to that, but that is what writing code looks like. It's on just a blank notepad. The lines descend. Sometimes they're color coded, but that's another thing they did a really, really good job of. It's not like, Swordfish with Wolverine, where he's got like 9 monitors and he's drinking wine and like they're visually representing the virus. No, that's not how that works.
Right.
No, that's not how that works.
Nick's not
code
okay. I
is
want to see
code.
Nick's office
Yeah.
at work because like that's not how it is. Nick's got 9 monitors and a wine rack. And,
I have,
But his code looks good.
8 of them are to play Modern Warfare, and the other one is to code.
did you guys ever watch Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
a little bit.
The first couple of
Well, like
seasons.
he goes home with the girl and she's also a coder and he sees like his laptop open and her code, the code she wrote like turns him on.
Right. It's the little things, man.
Yeah.
It's the little things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not getting it wrong. I've watched like other editors, like certain cuts they made. I'm like,
Wow.
I am so horny for your cut right now. That was amazing.
Show me how.
Bang your brain.
Yeah.
How did you
I've
do
done
that?
like a tiny tinge of coding, just in that it's like, oh, for this website to put in text and have a space, and then to do with this, and whatever. You put an image in to have enough space in between that. So like the very basics, I get like, just that.
Well, and it's
code.
interesting too because there's
But for people that can kind of go,
Yeah.
okay, I want to just create a whatever, and I see with the Matrix, and I'm going to use this code to create this wonderful visual thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
hmm I use
And
Wix for
I
my
wish-
website.
I know. I wish I was a
Yeah.
coder because I would be making, I don't know, 6 tuple what I'm making right now.
Googleplex. Well, why don't you just practice? Practice that little code you wrote and just code your little heart out.
Just make as many
Just go.
text and spaces as you want, Eric.
Yeah. Be fun.
I mean, that's. I'll be honest. That's how I started when I was at Rose. In my I just built websites, like my own personal junk, but it was. I would imagine it'd be just like costuming or editing or learning editing software. It said, you learn what different seams are. You learn the hotkeys. Like you just have to make mistakes and learn. And I mean, I've been doing this for a bit, and I've told people in like interviews and stuff that in my industry, there's 2 forms of thought. It's either we only use one type of software and that's it, and if you know anything else, you're not hired, or I need you to be super flexible because who knows what we're going to be using tomorrow. And I've actually said, somebody asked me in one, they're like, "What's your favorite language?" It's like, that's a hard one because I would rather know exactly what you're asking for from a business standpoint and then figure out how to write it versus not having any idea what you want, but definitely know how to write. That it's, I can build a shopping cart. I know what a shopping cart looks like. I know how it works. I know what you want it to do. What language do you need it, and I'll figure it out. Like understanding the concepts of the
what
stuff.
would be a
from
different language from like building one product like a shopping cart for a site? What would be an example of different languages? What do you mean?
Sure. So there's Microsoft. So there's C# and Visual C, C++, that kind of stuff. Then there's Java.
C++.
High school.
Then there's
It's
like
a meme
Java.
I made up that has no reference here. Sorry. With Fonzie going C++. He's wearing a sombrero. It's pretty good.
It's out.
Can you please put it in our text chain?
Cinco de Mayo.
I have to go find it. Yeah,
That's great.
So it's basically choosing the software parent. So writing, like Google has a language called Golang, which is their proprietary development language. Oracle has something, Microsoft has something. So it's really whatever shop has what their platform is, what their infrastructure is built on. So like we are
WordPress.
There's a lot.
Would that be an example?
Yeah,
is that,
WordPress is it's absolutely, what is WordPress written on? I think that's written on PHP. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which is, so then you have some that are open source. PHP is open source. You just go there, you throw it on a server and it runs, and it's just like the file extension.
Translate the
Yeah, well, you do have to install PHP, but it's free. You don't have to pay Microsoft for PHP. You take the files, you put them on the server, you extract them, you're good to go. You're up and running. Versus like Microsoft, where you have to install the C#, all their libraries and codexes and stuff like that. Like there are certain ones that are required additional infrastructure to operate. Other ones are open source. They're free. Just fire them up.
Wow. It's so fast. People with real jobs, it fascinates me. Like you do real stuff, man. Like, and it requires education and understanding and knowledge and like a full language. Like I love it. It's so fascinating. You build the world for us.
It's the invisible world, but it is the real.
How do your little letters and symbols and everything turn into this thing that we're streaming on? Like that's fascinating.
Yeah, we have a conversation a lot of times about in the digital space. We use a process called Agile, which is a way of developing new concepts. So you come to me and you say like, hey, I have a website, but I want to add a shopping cart to it. So the old method was called waterfall, because it would literally, in the diagram, it would waterfall down. So at the very, very top, you have everyone, I wanted to do exactly this. And they basically plan the whole thing. And then it falls down to testing. Then it falls down to development. Then it falls down to QA. And then 6 months later, you have a shopping cart. That doesn't work. So what Agile does is says, okay, instead of spending all this time trying to figure it out, get me started. Where are we trying to go? I'm trying to go to a shopping cart. Okay, so what's the first part of a shopping cart? I need a web page that I land on that says shopping cart. Cool. So you take this tiny little bite-sized piece, you kind of run it through the cycle, and then they say like, great, so here's a website that says there'll be a shopping cart here. What's next? Well, we need an inventory system. Okay, cool. So we'll work on a little inventory system, and then I'll show you the inventory system and call it a day. And then it's like, well, now I need to be able to see my inventory. Okay, cool. So let's work on that tiny. So it's just a way of working this tiny little piece.
It's like going backwards almost.
It's a cycle. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's starting with kind of it's starting with the finished
idea.
Product to a certain extent. Whereas like you already know what you want, and then you refine it. Yeah.
It's saying,
yeah. So
here's the page. It's empty. So now let's start filling that page with what we need. How do we fill that page? Well, you have to know inventory before it knows how to pull a thing from this site to our site. Yeah.
So
the common comparison is construction or engineering, which is where it falls apart, because waterfall started with construction and engineering, and people are like, oh, well, computers are engineering, so it's the same. Like, no, that's not how it works. Because if you were to build a building, you can't start with the 45th floor and be like, well, I know
what do you want that penthouse to be?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
want
you
the
want a
indigenous-
penthouse, so let me start there. Like, you can't do it. That's not how construction works. So, but the caveat with digital versus like a physical object too is, with Agile, everything is effort based. Everything you say, like, well, how long is this going to take? It's like, I can't tell you how long, but it's going to be, and it's use the Fibonacci sequence. Like, it's going to be about 3 points of effort. Like, well, what does that mean? So is it Tuesday? Like, no, I don't know that answer, because again, it's not construction. It's, if you're laying a driveway that is 100 feet long, I can tell you exactly how much concrete it's going to require. I can tell you exactly how long it's going to take to pour it, and I can tell you about how long it's going to take to dry and cure. Now, to do that digitally, I don't know. I mean, if I've done it before, I could do it pretty fast. But if I've never done it, I'm going to need a minute to figure it out. So that's where it's tricky too, is that a lot of times management hates not knowing when something's going to get done.
Not being,
Because,
given.
I mean,
correct
you guys
answers.
all deal with that. You all have deadlines of people saying, like, Halloween is October 31st. I don't care that it's the 20th. I need a Captain Crunch costume. Stat.
I've been putting off the cat. Oh, thanks for reminding
The
me.
number of times you've had that request, right,
So many
Eric?
Captain Crunches. Tangentially,
So many
when I was
Captain
at
Crunches.
SNL, they had to make a Captain Crunch. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Captain Crunch has come up in my periphery.
Wait, you were at SNL?
I interned there in
Nice.
grad school. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What era was that? That was Bill Hader and
Yes. Krista
what's-
Wiig was still there. Forte. What's his name?
Fred Armisen.
was
Fred
Michelle just blanking on every human's name today. From Bridesmaids.
What?
Melissa McCarthy. Was she there too?
Well,
Michelle.
she was never.
Is Michelle Pfeiffer still on the show?
Michelle Pfeiffer still
wasn't,
alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's a mother.
Oh yeah, duh.
Hello.
What a callback. Way to
That
go.
was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
The dog ears.
She's dead by now.
Been
I
a
don't know.
long
Maybe the
road
Rona
since then.
got her. I don't know.
Yeah.
They got Ronered.
Or she got Rona.
Well,
That's so fascinating, though, Nico. Hopefully,
Yeah.
everyone's still with us. But I think it's interesting. I had a meeting with a company today that, and so they're basically, they're not rebranding, but they're just redesigning their entire look. And so we had a meeting with their UI UX designer, and it's just cool, man, because he's got all the things. He's got the wireframe. He's got the, just like basically like all the inspiration stuff, the basic build out of what the site's going to look like. It, like, each page already built, just not on the web yet. It's like a PDF, It's just so cool. Like, it's a level of detail that really appeals to me. My work has to be way faster than that, so I just can't turn things around as fast as my clients need me to, and have that level of detail in the planning. But it works out. But it's fascinating to me to be able to dig that deep.
Also, you don't have to do the like building from scratch thing, which I imagine someone who's building their own site or whatever.
Right.
They're
but
like
even
known how to do it.
Right.
Even what you do, Matt, though, like you are doing UI UX, you just don't know it. Like, every time you put labels on something, that's user experience, because you're thinking, can I read this? Is this big enough? Is it on the screen long enough? That's user experience. Like, you're doing it, you just don't know.
That's a good point, Brian. See, we're designers in our own right.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, UI UX is everywhere. It's most commonly used with like web development.
Yeah.
But if you think about like which way a door opens in a restaurant, or where the signs are placed on the street, or the difference between like a Samsung and an Apple, like an iPhone. That's
What's really annoying about my studio is the lock goes the wrong way. So when I want to lock it, I have to go left, and when I want to open it up, I have to go right.
Counterintuitive.
Yeah, so it's counterintuitive. So that
they
would be
installed it backwards.
that's a failure of the would that be the UX design?
Glitch in the matrix.
no,
Yeah.
that's an installation
Oh,
error.
okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Because so here's the question: your door, if you're inside your office, does your door open out?
To get in, you have to push it.
So
so it opens in.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because in the event of an emergency, that door, according to the fire marshal, should swing out.
A door has to go out? Why?
Yeah. Because if people are slamming up against it, they're inside and they need
can't
to get
it
out.
open.
And there's a crowd pushing against it. Now no one can open it.
So, well, it's
because
just
it
me.
has to open.
So you're going to get fined
It's
soon.
the it's the ending
We've
scene
just drawn
in
attention.
Inglourious Bastards.
Well, no, it's
everybody in my
interesting because
office
it's like
getting burned.
it just became a thing that I learned about, that there's a rule or a law, but
I know about this in Boston.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating when I go to older buildings, and the doors, I always joke like they open the wrong way, because it's like, in the event of an emergency, we're all dead.
This would be considered an older building for sure. So
Yeah.
Grandfathered in.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, but again, that's user experience. That's without you knowing that's what that is.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Well.
Oh, and then I have a fun story too, where a mutual friend of ours, the body firm.
Yeah.
When I was in college, and this would have been around 2001, I needed I wanted a practical client to build a website for my portfolio. And this will be dating myself, but when the internet first came out and people were web designers, they were charging the most asinine things for the most asinine things. If you think about, like, you look at a web page right now, let's just go like the Google homepage. There's a box with a button that says submit, and then there's usually like 3 links across the bottom, which is just text that takes you somewhere else. In the early days of web development, people used to charge by the link. They would sell packages that says, I will build you one page for $200 and you get 5 links for $50. And when I worked with Paula, shout out to Paula, she asked me, because people didn't know any better. She's like, well, I want to put some links to stuff. How much is that going to cost me? It's like, well, A, this is free because I'm a student, but B, that's not a thing. Like, charging for putting text on the screen is not how this works. Don't let anyone ever charge you for that, because it's not a real thing.
Or at least it shouldn't. It's not how it should work. It was how it was working.
That's how it was working, because people just didn't know.
But also, I think that's like a communication thing, where maybe it's trying to cheat people, but at the same time, 100%. I think if you were to say, I'm going to build your site and here's my fee, people would go, well, I don't know what that means. That's weird. Is that what you're saying? Is that what it is in reality now?
Well, in reality now, there's 2 ways to do it. You either you go by the hour, which is based on well, I'll speak from personal experience. When I charge by the hour, it's because I know it's going to be a long, unending process, and it's probably not going to be like every day. It's gonna come sporadically at me. So I'll just keep a log of like, okay, I worked on your site for this many hours, da 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 da. But a better way to do it is value-based pricing, and what I mean by that is, I may be able to build something for you in 5 hours. But if your business makes $100,000 off of 5 hours of my work, I'm not going to charge you my hourly rate for that. I'm going to know you're about to make $100,000. So here's how much this project costs. And then if they're like, well, why? It's like, because I know it's going to cost you.
If you're building a shopping cart for some sort of like, manufacturer that's selling DTC, and you know that this is like their website, this is where it's selling, that's a totally different ballgame than writing a site with a landing page for like a local business or something like that.
Right. And I've done when I do hourly type stuff, early on, when you're early, it's different. When you're old, later, it's different too. But if somebody was to come up to me today and say, I need a website that does this, this, and this, my first question is like, how much interactivity is involved? Is it just like a Wix page that you need a 3-page information only, doesn't do anything, it's just information? I would almost advise them like, hey, spin up a Wix page or something like that. But if you need if you need to store customer data or store display data, or you want to have some sort of interaction, then we're going to start talking about building an application for you. And I only use the term application because it means that the website does more than just show you information. It does work. The next question is, how much work do you need and how long do you think it's going to be around? Because if they're like, oh, I just want to spin up a let's say I'm opening a coffee shop and I just want to take email addresses so I can mail a newsletter out, I might charge them by the hour and say, okay, so here's my hourly rate. I would like, just I don't call it a retainer, but a minimum. There'll be a minimum down, plus this is my hourly. And then there's other legal nuance type stuff. But if somebody come up to me with like, I want you to build, now that I have interest in my coffee shop, I want to build a page for my coffee shop in which people can order coffee and it'll be waiting for them when they get here. And I want to be able to have monthly specials. And if they want an application, that's when I'll project-based charge them and be like, great. So, anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 or something like that. Just being like, depending on how crazy it gets or if I like them. I mean, that's honestly, that's part of it too, is like, I will cut deals for people that I trust and know and like, because I would like to continue working with them or something along those lines. But if I kind of get roped into something I don't want, I'll overcharge them, hoping that they'll be like, yeah, we'll go somewhere else. Like, okay.
And they say yes, usually.
Yeah.
And if they say yes, you're like, well, shit, all right.
That backfires on me a fair amount.
Yeah. Like, give them a number that they will definitely refuse, and then they don't refuse, and you're like...
And they go, wow, that's a high number. This person must know what they're doing. Yeah. Okay, yes.
Right. You must be
like,
smart.
Crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often are you doing independent work like that?
Not so much anymore. I have one long-term client that I won't talk about, but for their privacy. But yeah, I have one long-term client that does come to me from time to time with small nuance changes and business updates and enhancements. And yeah, for them, we have a working standing agreement on what that looks like financially.
That's cool.
But that's good. I have been approached in the past about some oddball type stuff where they wanted to spend something like $500 but wanted a full marketing workup. And it was just like, no.
Yeah,
just no. I'm not like, what you're asking for is a marketing plan and team, and I don't have that. I can't do that for you in the capacity you want, especially since it's not my full-time job. It's I've advised people to seek large marketing agencies, and I've advised people to seek students. I've advised people to seek smaller agencies, because a lot of times a smaller agency will take on a smaller bit just as like a running income, versus
in that case we should talk. No, for real. Yeah. Or are you praying for it?
I'm debating on how many commas are in what.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about the commas. I mean, like, ultimately that's something that I want to see
Sure.
by my business grow into is handling, because as of right now it's, hey, I need a video for this, I give it to them, and then it's up to them to do with it as they desire.
Right.
But the thing that I'm seeing is that there's almost more need and more help required with what to do with the baby once I hand it over, as opposed to the baby itself. So knowing how to properly market it, how to properly place it, because sometimes people are using the not not as effective platform to advertise and to market their stuff, where maybe Facebook is not their realm, and really it's Instagram or vice versa or whatever it is.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
so being able to give those people that thing is almost more valuable in a way than the actual piece of art itself.
Yeah.
Because,
well, like I learned a fun lesson this week. So I recorded a video that I put on Instagram, because in Instagram you can post to Facebook and Twitter at the same time. So I just recorded this off the cuff, like, hey, we're recording, come check us out, blah blah blah. And the video was like 1 minute and 28 seconds or something like that, that I put on Instagram. If you don't use Instagram TV, you can only put 1 minute in. So if you watch that video, I'm like, cut. But again, that's that fun lesson learned of like, okay, so next time, Well, because I guess I was used to like doing my gut reactions, which I put right on Facebook, which I could talk as long as I want.
Yeah.
And you can just shoot them straight up and call it a day. But yeah, the fact that Instagram is like, no, you've got a minute unless you want to go into some other venue, which at the time I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I may, but I was just like, this is a learning thing. Like I'm gonna try something, see how it works, get used to it, not getting paid for it. So it's not like
its stakes are low. So.
Yeah, super low risk. Right.
Well, and I'm not sure if it yielded. Hey, no, we got 5 viewers on Facebook. It worked.
Yay!
Of us not talking about movies at all. But it does.
We did.
This is the second half of Smoking Hot Nerds where we get nerdy.
Where we get crazy on other stuff. That's kind of the thing,
B-side.
though. We're in this world now where everything does live. Online isn't even like the right phrase. I don't even know if that's the right way to talk about it anymore, because it's not like we're living online. We just live, and our entire experience is transmuted to this platform for everybody in the world to see, if you want it to. But most of us want it to. So everything that I'm doing throughout the day, and it all kind of started. I mean, it started with MySpace, Facebook, all that, sure. But I think a lot of it was with the check-ins, with Swarm and Foursquare and things like that, where people were checking in. Well, we realized that wasn't really like it's an app in and of itself. It's really more of something like a detail within the other apps that we were really using, like Facebook and Instagram and stuff. And so suddenly we lived our lives on the grid, which is why, and we don't need to like all of a sudden start talking about the movie again, but which is why the movie is so interesting in that respect, where it's that world, all those things, but it takes place off the grid. It takes place completely in its own little insular thing, and that's almost in a way what causes all the craziness, is that it's not connected to the world. There's no outlets, there's no Facebook, there's no TV, there's no nothing.
There's no monitoring from the outside.
So that caused some of the crazy. So, up to
that
the point.
like if you noticed it too, all of the light was artificial. So there's when he said, and so that's where maybe I will cut the 7 days some slack, is because they've done studies with people who do like cave mining and spelunking, that their natural circadian rhythm is not 24 hours. It's something like 28 hours or 28.5 hours or something like that. So when you don't have the sun to dictate what your day is, your body will do its own thing. So like that's why it's super interesting, because they did such a great job too. It all looks like supernatural lighting, not supernatural, but natural lighting that is super good. But to the fact that when I did the very first day, he's up at like 2:30 in the morning, just like awake, and not like insomnia, but just because his body's like, I lost the sun. I have no idea what time it is.
Well, Norway is like that too, because
it's
24-hour darkness, 24-hour sunlight, depending upon the season. I mean, it has seasons, but it only has seasons for a very small chunky of time. So I don't really.
You get
extremes really know.
on both ends.
Yeah.
Well, I forgot that Norway does that too.
Yeah.
Because it's so far north.
I saw it happen. It's creepy. The sun literally just dips below the horizon, and then came right back up. And this was in June. Yeah, so like right at the beginning of summer, it was crazy. It's kind of like you see it just barely peek away, and then whoop, there it is again. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But definitely
that would trip me out.
But I've been doing a nighttime schedule for so long. I can 1,000,000,000% attest to the fact that like a lot of the times I don't really know what day it is, and especially right now as I come to the end of my time in the factory, I'm working this weird like 4:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. schedule. So I'm don't really know what's going on and what day is it. And that kind of thing, because we need that. We need that tangible. So in the film, combine that just sort of your natural rhythm is out of whack with, am I talking to a real woman or not? Is this guy who invited me here playing me or not? So there's all this kind of stuff, and you almost start to go.
And I've won this grand prize, so I'm already feeling, I can't blow this thing.
That I'm
the
told
stakes are high.
2 days into this grand prize that it wasn't really a prize. Now I know that he invited me here for some other reasons. Cool, let me just cut my wrist up. And it was like, it just seems like it's this natural progression to self-harm almost. Really crazy. Did the movie feel, because you were saying Kubrick, I thought it had like a very Mr. Robot sort of feel to it though too.
Yeah, but I think that's that's still Kubrick vibes.
Kubrick,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's I think the biggest thing I noticed about the movie is like there's so much tension. Like I felt like my skin like starting to crawl pretty much like around the time they did the first interview.
Yeah.
And I do not mean that in a bad way, but it's just like the movie carries so much tension the whole time. It's never super overbearing. It's never too much, and it's generally like the right amount for the right moment.
Right.
And I think that's like, I don't know, that's a testament to like, at least for me, to movie that make you feel that. I don't know if subconscious is the right word, but makes you feel it without thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where like sometimes it's almost hard to sit still, which I think that's also a Kubrick thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I take away from the movie. Like besides all the brilliance it has, it's just like the feeling it gives you. Because there's always something under the surface, and as we learn, there's 3 or 4. You know, there's like I said, there's a triple cross at least.
Yeah.
So that's always under the surface. So I think that's one of my favorite things about it.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty emotional like TV movie watcher. Like when I watch a movie that I like and I can turn off my editor brain, like I try to soak it in. So if it makes me feel things like that, then that's what usually gets me.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
the fun of it is
when
a movie does do that, because when you start to work on movies and things like that, you start to see film differently. So when you are watching something that actually engrosses you and turns you into a viewer and turns you into somebody who's really watching it and going along for the ride and empathizing with the characters, then you know something really good is happening.
I think like when you guys asked me to be on this podcast, like about that time, like I had almost, because for a long time when I watched movies, people would hate it because I would be such a dick about it.
Right.
And like, especially if it was something I didn't like, or even if something I did like, but they would do something corny or whatever, like that switch would get flipped and it would just start word vomiting. And I had about got over that. And then you guys asked me to do this podcast. And I'm like, oh crap, I got to switch back.
Yeah.
Right.
But in a way, not really, because we can still talk about it from the point of view of loving, movies and stuff, as well as analyzing it. Because there's not a whole lot on this movie that I didn't like. I don't think we hit one very often where we go, I just kind of liked it. It's just a good film.
Yeah, it's just a good movie. It's solid. I don't feel like there's a lot of plot holes really, which usually plot holes are par for the course when you get a movie that's this heady, but I don't really.
Well, you could argue was, if he's so smart, why does he not have an escape redundancy? There's the simple fact that it's a key card based system to get in and out. He's got power outages. It's the fact that there's no way to prevent the escape of his intellectual property. That's where it's like, wouldn't you might put something in place for that. Like the fact that they, one little line of code and he upsets the whole apple cart and they get out, you're like, well, maybe, but but that's super slight. Yeah, it's not like I'm trying to think of what would be a major plot hole is.
I think the walk to the helicopter was his failsafe. Maybe just at the end of the day, he was thinking, well, you still have to fly out of here. You have to find the helipad, which is just up the river somewhere. Maybe that's where the redundancy was.
And they have to let you on the helicopter.
Which apparently he did.
Yeah.
But
right.
I think part of that, I think you can almost attribute to his character because he just thinks he's so bitchin'. So
that's the flaw, right? His character flaw is, I'm clearly perfect, and that's not going to be an issue.
Yeah.
Or also, or is it just as human as he's putting so much energy into this thing that when he could go do that other thing, he goes, I'm going to get drunk instead. I'm done. I'm checking out. And it's just that.
That's true.
But yeah, like this, even movies I really like, I can usually find stuff. But this one, it's pretty hard, I feel like, to do that. unless you go like super nitpicky.
But you see, that's the thing. That's what one of the reasons why I like the movies so much is because it did this. It did the thing that I wish more movies did. Super simple cast of characters, killed it with the casting, and you've got exteriors and interiors that are two. There's a soundstage, and then there's one location, and that's so everything's in one place. So you're keeping your crew small, you're keeping everything very intimate, without feeling claustrophobic. So you've got this great combination. You gave each character just a baby bit of backstory that made sense, because when we have conversation with each other, we're not constantly going, "Tell me about that time." It's like there's
Remember when?
yeah, not constantly placing member berries everywhere. So. When you say his family died in a car accident, cool, moving on. But then when they bring it up again is when he realizes it was used against him. So that makes sense, and it was good. I think just a lot of movies try to get so complicated. I mean, compare it to, even though like I enjoy the Avengers movies, just compare. I mean, there's no comparison to how much better this is than any of those films that cost 1 billion times more, make a lot more money for sure, but look at how you can make a beautiful film for such a low budget with a killer cast, pretty simply.
And I feel like some of the, the minimal locations, I'm sure that was all intended, but I almost wonder if some of it was a bit out of necessity that ended up adding, because the one thing they clearly spent a lot of money on, which I imagine shooting at that location, that's a beautiful place. I'm sure that wasn't cheap, but like the visual effects on her before they had this, like that visual effects is outstanding, and that wasn't cheap. And what was the budget? 15 million? I mean, I bet at least half of that was visual effects. Like,
that was something that I didn't mention that I loved, was not only the visual effects were just almost flawless. You couldn't tell.
Yeah, they're real good.
But the sound design was killer. Just her really subtle mechanical noises. The zips and the zats and the sort of like the low hum when she would kneel down, so you could feel the weight of her robotic character sort of moving. That stuff was so beautifully placed.
Yeah, it's in her herself. I mean, like you said, like the entire cast, especially the three of them, absolutely destroyed.
So
but like
good.
she had, I call it like she did the Marlon Brando thing, which even because he had so much subtlety, or people say he did, she did the robot thing, but she did a really nice job of injecting a lot of subtlety that was both human while still doing the little ticks of the robot thing. She had this way of like melding like human subtlety and the robot thing. I sound like an idiot right now, but
you're fine.
She really nailed molding all of that together, and so that it was both human and like robotic. I don't, does that make sense at all?
Yeah, there's a moment that I noted where is when she was going to go dress in clothes for the first time, and she asked him to close his eyes, and then she gets down on her hands and knees and like looks up at him, and she looks at him and then kind of glances, like does this little like just this quick little glance with her eyes, and then gets up and goes away. And I was like, it was just so human and subtle, but almost something that she was mimicking that people do, so it was just this kind of beautiful coalescence of that AI with her observational sort of abilities as a robot.
Yeah, no, cool. it's good too, because it even their introduction is her movements are so smooth that I think this is why it was brilliant. But you don't see her face in the initial introduction. She's backlit, so it's just silhouette. But she's hollow, so you can see through her. So the whole is this AI is immediately thrown out, because it's like, this is obviously a robot. Like, there's no way she's passing this test. I can tell every time I look at her that she's a robot, which is why her character design was so brilliant. And the way that they shot it too, with like, because I watched how they did it with the behind the scenes, but like having the full casting up over her shoulders, having the skin come from her cheeks to a little V. So you just get these tiny little peak of the infrastructure, but it's enough as like that reminder of like,
Yeah.
even though we're in this nice tight shot, and that could easily be like an Under Armour shirt, just that subtle little reminder that it's artificial. And it's real good.
Yeah.
And going back to her subtleties, like the one thing I kind of thought watching it this time was like how I think she was so good at molding it. I almost like think if at least maybe like Alicia, the actress, was like, I wonder if I can portray this in such a way to the audience so like she doesn't actually need to make those movements. Like she's almost doing it on purpose.
Because that's what they expect. Yeah.
Yeah. Like as part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I may have was making out in my head, but I was like, I feel like that could have been part of it.
Yeah.
You know, like the character they designed. So,
well, the effects were. There's that moment where after she dresses in clothes for the first time, and then we cut to later where she's taking the stockings off and stuff like that. Like the seamlessness of those effects. I mean, this is a real person taking off real wardrobe in a space. In a real space, and they just kind of killed it with the transparency of her body, of her legs and stuff. Yeah, it was just like, I mean, it was so good. Like really analyzing it for the detail, looking for flaws, and just wasn't there. It was great.
Yeah.
And that's on your TV,
right?
Super duper.
Yeah, super
Yeah,
space
you
TV.
don't have those like artifacts where you can tell that they masked it out, and they did a really good job. The behind the scenes on the making of her is really interesting too, because it's a full suit. It's that gray weave, but it's a full suit of the gray weave where they just where they have the little bindings on her arms and stuff. That's what they use to be like, okay, so this is the part where it's robotic, and like she was in a bald cap the entire time. So yeah, they talked about how they didn't want to like green screen it because that would mess up the reflections inside this building and all that stuff. So like, we're just going to solid color this, probably give it some different lighting type stuff, but then we'll go through and strip it back out. So
it's probably easier to overlay the reflection of the CGI, if there was any, over that gray, just matte that out, than the green, which would cause which would actually cause a light reflection.
Yes.
As opposed to,
especially like the green would have been on like all that glass that they would sit at, and that would have been all over.
I'm just thinking about the mess.
I know.
Fix that up.
Like, oh god,
green screen. Woof. Yeah.
Which
everyone's like, we're done with green screen.
I would imagine probably that's a credit due to whoever the visual effects supervisor was when saw the drawings of the sets or the pictures of the set, because it's a real place, and it was probably like, we're not doing green screen. Because I think that's probably the only visual, everything else is completely practical and it's all designed. It's very simple. So clear, like, okay, we only have the visual effects on her and the other girls have to be so damn good. We can't do visual effects on anything else.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then when you get effect on effect, then that's when you get some of that ghosting and some of those weird little artifacts floating around.
Well, but it's just like, we got the money to do them, but that has to be good. But that's all we got.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I love the skin, because that's another thing you just don't notice at first. But like when the other girl's taking her skin down off of her face, the physical weight of the fake skin falling is so it's just really, really natural and really good. Good movie.
There's even a scene where when he's reviewing the files, and they show that one version 3.7 where she's beating on the wall and just slowly starts working down her arms, just smashing the machinery on her arms.
Yeah.
I didn't see that the first time. This time I caught it and I was like, that's amazing. Yeah. That's super good.
Yeah, just ripping your own arms to shreds, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great movie, people.
Watch it.
Well, and also it's I'm trying to think when I first watched this. I think I watched a slew of A24 movies. I watched Lobster. I watched Under Her Skin. It was called. I watched these different things. And Green Room, is that A24? I feel like that. Yeah. All these. And they have such a consistent kind of feel. And everything's stripped down. And it's all the same thing. It's a couple locations maybe. It's really great actors. But it's all that same pared down type of thing. So they go, it's story. This is what we're telling. We're telling a story. Yes. It's not about spectacle. This movie to the most extent, maybe for that production company, is spectacle, just in her. But that's still not audacious. You know, it's just that's necessary to tell the story.
Yeah,
but
they've got an approach for sure.
Yeah, and it works. I mean, they've been very successful. You know, it's like there's them. There's Blumhouse is like the other side of trying to do that same thing, and they're wildly hit and miss. You know, like they'll do an Invisible Man over here. It's like, oh, and then they'll have complete garbage over here. But it's still that same kind of approach to making a movie. And yeah, A24 seems dialed in for sure.
Yeah.
Invisible Man, that's a good idea though.
I haven't watched it, but
is that the one with what's her name? Peggy Olson?
Yep.
Yeah. A movie, or is that that's a movie, not a show?
That's a movie. Yeah. It came out right before the shutdown. So I think I watched it on my cable provider. I rented it.
It's a good movie.
I made an Instagram post at work for it, and then it was like, man.
You're like, well, shoot.
Well. I was like, oh, we have the Invisible Man costumes, and it's just Hanger with a clear bag with nothing.
$79.99.
That's funny.
That may have been the exact price I put on it. I'll have to look for it. It's sitting there waiting to be used at some point.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, I think the new Shia David Ayers movie came out actually on. I think they released it right to the old interwebs.
I was going to say, if they put it in theaters, that means it's no good, so they're just dumping it right now.
Tax Collector movie. I think that might have come out.
Is that the one where he got the tattoo?
Yeah, we got the full tattoo. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And then his next movie is a guy who gets his tattoo removed with lasers. That's his next character.
It's just called tattoo removal.
Yeah.
The worst
That's just
6
him
months of your
laying
life.
down going, Kelly Clarkson! Being zapped with a laser.
It's just the 40-year-old virgin, too.
Yeah, scene from 40-year-old virgin for 3 hours.
Nice.
Like 824. No, that'd be a Blumhouse.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
How come I can't get it? Oh, there it is. I'm confused by the actual internet. If it's not on my phone, I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Amazon Prime, YouTube, and then, of course, iTunes. So, yeah, it's up.
Okay.
It's up,
Interesting.
man.
Yeah, I got an email that they're releasing Mulan on September 4th to Disney Plus, but it's like Disney Plus Premium, and it's like $30.
$30.
Yeah.
Like
what? Like a subscription or just extra?
No, you got to pay $30 to watch.
Watch the movie. Yeah.
So no, you have to
Let's
have
not get crazy, Disney.
And you have to pay $30.
Oh.
Wait.
I'm not going to do that.
I don't know what, because there's like, I think there's like basic Disney Plus, but then there's
that's
like,
what I have.
And
it's
there's
like $6.
Premiere. So it's I think you literally, it's like a twofer. You have to have Premiere and pay $30.
It's just like HBO Max if you already have HBO and you're like, well, I have HBO. No, but it's not HBO Max.
Where is it? Oh, so I got my bill the other day because I was looking at the charges, and my provider has given me HBO Max.
Okay.
As part of.
Yeah, I haven't looked. I better have it.
I just noticed because I saw some weird like surcharge with like they put the random little symbols next to it, and I was like, what are this? I went to look, and yeah, it looks like they're getting rid of the HBO Go app, which my subscription had HBO Go. So I think they're like, we'll just give you Max now. Like, oh, all right, cool. Maybe I'll watch that Anna Kendrick nonsense.
Are you watching all that stuff from like your Comcast box, or how are you doing all this?
Yeah, from my Comcast.
Gotcha. So you're
my
not
Cox box.
Yeah. But you're not. So you're not using
from the package.
Yeah.
Your package.
It's
no,
so
I
interesting.
only use my computer for Disney Plus. I have various I've got an Xbox.
Something else.
With
that too. So my Xbox has Netflix and something else on it, but my laptop's I use Disney Plus on my laptop.
But you can't get Disney Plus on the Cox box? But you can.
I could, but Disney Plus also has a limit, a device limit.
Gotcha.
So like downstairs, we've got Disney on the TV.
Gotcha.
I should cancel Disney Plus because of course I started paying for it so I could watch The Mandalorian. But
Yeah.
I think since The Mandalorian is over, I haven't touched it since. But I've been paying for it the whole time.
That's what
I got the
everyone
free
does.
one through Verizon. Verizon users got it for a year
Yeah.
for free, which is great. And then I got ESPN Plus and Hulu, as an add-on. So it's like $10 or whatever for both of those in addition to it. But yeah, I think without the Mandalorian, I don't think I've watched anything on Disney Plus since that.
Yeah.
We went back through and watched some old Disney stuff. Like occasionally something will come across our brain of like, because I had never seen like Princess and the Frog, so just to round out my
You felt like you needed to?
I felt like I needed to, so I watched it. And then when they announced that Mulan was coming out as a live action, I think I went and I watched the original Mulan. So it's really like that.
And said, I'm good.
Yeah, and then I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that. I feel like that one was a rough time for our age.
That was right
I don't
at
know
the
how it was
tail
for
end
you,
of the
Brian.
golden
It might
era.
have been
Yeah.
You know?
exactly.
That was like after one of the Aladdins or something.
Like our age, we were getting out. Were we still in high school? It was somewhere right around there.
Yes.
school to
Little
college.
Mermaid was like
Yeah.
93 or something like that.
Oh, that was
and-
way earlier.
Yeah.
We also got the sting of like Pocahontas, which was not for us.
And then the Emperor's New
So,
Clothes
yeah,
and
so we're like, all right.
Hercules. Yeah. We're
we're no
kinda
longer your
Yeah.
demographic. We're
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, we're also still the generation that remembers that Disney put out live action movies like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Pete's Dragon and all that, like Herbie the Love Bug.
Right.
We're aware that that was a thing that Disney did.
Huey the Love Chopper. That's
Yeah.
my
So-
Vietnam movie.
Nice. Jesus.
That's my dumb pitch.
Huey the Love Chopper. It's
Does
a
he- does he
Vietnam era
list, like,
talking
just a
helicopter.
little bit to the
Yeah.
left.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't fly. He just got a little bit of a list.
He's like,
to him.
woo! They're like, Huey! Ah!
But what is he? Does he succeed in his mission, or is he kind of a screw up? Does everyone die aboard? How does it work?
He's like a weather chopper now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he seems like a screw up, but then in the end, he
Oh, that would be great
he
flashback
does
movie.
something that you would think would be a screw up, but it ends up saving the day.
But he's
But
actually
then it's still Vietnam.
when we meet him though at the beginning, it's like Saving Private Ryan. We meet the old Huey the Love Chopper, and he's takes people around Vegas on sightseeing tours.
Right.
But he's like, let me tell you about when I was a kid, and then flashes back to Vietnam. Yeah.
Oh God.
In the very end is him asking his love chopper if he was a good chopper. Am I a good chopper? Like, yes, Huey, you're a good chopper.
Good chopper, Huey.
Yeah.
Tell you a story.
I
It
earned
fades to
this.
black, and then there's something happening here.
That's when I shut it off.
Track.
Yeah.
Made to wave a flag.
In 16
Yeah.
millimeter.
Yeah.
Yep.
But old guys.
But yeah. But inexplicably old guys. Yeah.
I did not start that movie.
No.
I need to watch that one.
Yeah. I think we're deep enough in the podcast. But yeah. Huey the Love Chopper coming soon.
Huey the coming in the year 3010.
Yeah, coming in hot. 2021. Oh, that
Is
sounds
it
amazing.
animation on top of live action?
Yeah, I think he should be animated, right?
Dick Van Dyke is in it.
Absolutely.
Like the
Yeah.
human gore is very real, and
Yeah.
then he's animated and wacky.
He's got like a cartoon Band-Aid on like the left side of
yeah,
How
Yeah.
great would it be when the people on the chopper get shot and it's like real gore, but then when it splatters on him, it turns into
it looks like
cartoon.
grape jelly.
Yeah.
It just bubbles.
or it's just he just always has a windshield wiper that wipes it off.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh man, napalm's hot. Wow. It's like beads of sweat on his little helicopter head.
Huey, where are you? Where are you?
Yeah. We need a medevac, Huey. It's a little hot up here.
Whoa, boy, I'm coming, guys.
I guess I'm a hospital chopper now. And he like slaps a cross on the front of his chopper. He's just interchangeable.
Wow.
Yeah,
Ugh.
done.
I mean, I'd watch it.
Yeah, so would
Yeah,
I.
I'm in.
Trying to think of his friends, like the F4 Phantom, his cartoon plane friend who drops napalm
fucking
and stuff.
F4.
Yeah.
There's like,
Yeah.
and then of course there's
Oh,
like the gruff old timer like truck that the troop transport.
Yeah.
That's like got one
Like an
flat tire.
APC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably
Hey,
need a
kid, you got to get your act together.
destroyer, the old destroyer. Like just, this is my
On the scene that
third
he
war.
lands on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. My helipad's holding together. I remember the day when I didn't need a helipad. I just needed a land B-17.
His rear end gun just kind of boom.
Now you whippersnappers with your rotaries and your whatever
Your love, Hueys.
finds. Yeah. You talk about helicopters, old man? Yeah, whatever.
Well,
Next week, I gotta tell you about my Terminator idea with
Oh no.
Donald Trump.
we'll open with that.
Oh boy.
It's a great.
That is the
yeah.
podcast next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our pitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that sounds great. I'm a little teary-eyed now thinking of Huey the Love Chopper.
Yeah, I know, right?
Let's do it. Let's make it.
That one's been in my brain forever, but I've never taken it beyond just the stupid name. So just got a little bit fleshed out.
Maybe
I mean,
part of it
Workshop it
tonight.
a little bit.
How much different would it be though than like the Vietnam movies that have been made recently? You just have cartoon machinery. You know, all the boats and planes and helicopters are all cartoons, and all the people are real.
It's all
They're just getting
CGI.
ripped to
Yeah.
pieces. Yeah, and the cartoon's just like, oh man, this is rough. Let's get out of here. Who sent us in
it's
here?
Like, Who Framed
that was
Roger
a
Rabbit?
close
Yeah,
one.
exactly. It's
Something
yeah.
horrifically violent.
It's Vietnam. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? What could be better than that?
It's the elevator pitch.
Yep.
It's simple.
I gotta go find me an elevator. I think this is the end, boys.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait for my Donald Trump Terminator movie. Just wait for that. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
nervous and excited at the same time.
Yeah. We'll all forget completely, but
Oh no.
I started a notebook, so I'm gonna write it down.
oh,
Nice.
I text myself so often, and then like a month later, I look, I'm like crap,
Yeah.
crap, and I have an idea in my head. I'm like, oh, this one's good. I mean,
Yeah, this
one's
is the
for
one.
real.
That's the
Yeah.
one.
Let me find the most recent idea that I had. It's gonna be
I'll
great.
tell you, mine today. While you're looking, mine was take like D&D because I bought those little starter kits that Target's selling,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, what if it's like unexpected people playing? It's like the Goodfellas are playing D&D, or like Andrew Dice Clay is the DM. You know, like, hey, you're going into a cave, and there's like, and there's a bronze there. What you gonna do? Roll initiative. Yeah.
Oh man. I don't think I have it.
It's,
I don't know.
D&D is so hot right now. It's like people that should never play it are playing it.
Yeah. My favorite is Joe Manganiello has like famously the hottest D&D game in the world.
Mhm.
And it's funny because I imagine Sofia Vergara was like, I'm on a date with the guy who's in Magic Mike, and he's like, let me show you my dungeon, and she's like, oh, he's like, here's
Oh.
my dice. Oh. And here's my hand-drawn maps. What?
Yeah.
That's
I
love
have a
right there.
plan to steal the hand of Vecna.
Yeah.
So it's like real. It's real mainstream by now, huh? D&D.
It's
As mainstream as it will ever get.
Yeah.
that's true.
It is at
That
its
is
peak
correct.
of as much as
Mhm.
possible. Now, maybe there's just so much media that we think it's bigger than it is
Mhm.
because it's like, well, you can go find it all over the place. But it's like,
No, it's
is
a
it
lot
on
of work.
every channel?
It's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's
It's-
so much more work than the 5-second bite-sized nature of entertainment people want now.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
But there are people. I don't know how many people watch Critical Hit or what are these
Critical Role. Yeah.
Critical Role, these different things where they're watching 3+ hour segments,
Yes.
and it's
Wow.
dozens of 3+ hour segments to go through these adventures. Like Nico, you're talking about the thing you played. It's 2 years, or how long have you played your adventure?
Yeah, we wrapped after like 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And was that once a week?
For the most part, yeah. It was once a week for about 2.5 hours. It was all on the East Coast, so I was dealing with East Coast time and that kind of stuff. And we had breaks for some holidays and some personal stuff. But yeah, it was a beast. I mean, Fred.
I started reading the story when I had a tinge of time.
Yeah. So what he did was. He's also a game designer, so he has designed other types of games. So he wanted to take the mechanics of D&D, but not rely on the existing canon of the Wizards of the Coast. So he used his own monster generator, but the world, the universe, the rules are all brand new ideas. We borrowed like character types and stuff like that because you can't not have like a spellcaster or a sword user. There are general basic types that exist.
It's not like, oh, we got to have the guy who turns into a motorcycle. Yeah, it's like,
yeah, turns into a love chopper. We need him.
Yeah. So yeah, it was.
I'm Huey.
It's work, man. He did I would say an above average job too. Like, he did a phenomenal level of work and effort on it, but. What's nice about you mentioned the starter kits, you could just pick one of those up, get 4 or 5 friends together. Right. They will walk you through a start to finish campaign. It's a mini campaign, but they'll get you there. Yeah. But I do think that it's as much visual press as it's getting. It's like, I'm really excited. And then you see the amount of work and it's like, okay, we're done here.
Yeah. Well, and it takes those certain brains where I feel like LARPing, it maybe like took whatever Steam LARPing had, because it's like LARPing, just real quickly, it had those 2 groups where it's like people that want to bang each other with Nerf, and then people that are like, I want to memorize a giant book full of spells, and I want to have rules, and I need blah 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 blah. And those type of people are the D&D people. Those are the people that are like, I want to read all this, I want to know what my character needs to do, I want to know what the other characters can do, I want to know what this world is, I want everything fleshed out, blah 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 blah. I love it. And I'm rolling dice. It's exciting. And other people are like, I want to hit something with Nerf.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I'm like, and I'm fascinated by the dice rolling thing, but I know I'm a Nerf dummy. So I'm like,
can I blend the two together?
But again, the thing about D&D is, you can have these little one-off little campaigns, or you can have this giant thing where your characters go on a journey and you level up 20 levels, and it takes years. And there's people that played it for decades.
Yeah, even that, like some of our adventures were just story. Like we would have a night where all we did was talk, and like there's maybe a little bit of dice rolling, not a single fight type of thing. And that's part of the game. It's like there are nights where it's just talking. Then there are nights where I think we almost died like 3 times. And then for our finale, I actually flew out to the East Coast, and we did it on a Saturday because we were like, all right, so this is probably going to be 3 hours. Let's just block 6 hours out. And we still at the end were kind of like rushing through the ending stuff because you get enough investment in your character and you get enough kind of like internal grandiose design that the story has to move forward and complete, but you still want to do stuff. So there was a point where like I had this really cool idea. I wanted to do this, and the DM was like, listen, you're going to get to the top of the stairs, man. Just don't roll dice. You're going to get there.
Right.
But if you want to add some flavor on top of that, just talk me through the flavor. I don't need you to work out the mechanics of it. You're going to do it. You're not going to fail.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of like give and take compromise. And that's why the DM part is so hard, because you can have the best laid plans and somebody can just squash it with a very creative solution. So yeah, it's really
Like
tough.
creative or being a jerk, where it's like they want to take
Also
you on
that.
an adventure, and people are like,
I kill the
we want to
barkeep.
go graffiti and kill the bartender and just
Yeah.
cause chaos over here. And
Yeah.
the DM's like, I didn't plan any of that crap. My story went over here. I spent
we,
30 hours planning this thing, and
one of the
you
guys-
a-holes went over here.
Yeah, one of the guys we played with was in another campaign where he was playing in our game, but he was DM, which is Dungeon Master. He was DMing another campaign, and that's what his group did. Is they just became basically like mercenary a-holes that would walk into a town.
Murderers, what do you call them? There's a name for it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But they would walk into a town and be like, "Hey, what's up?" And they're like, "Oh, come save the lady from the dragon." Like, okay. And then they would go like, basically shake down the shop to get all the stuff for free, and then they would go to the castle and like just claim it, and then burn down the tower. Like, we live here now.
Right.
And then the DM's like, okay. And then they would like they would intimidate witnesses and like kill witnesses and stuff.
Jeez.
Jesus.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to
Murder
do
hobo. That's
murder
what it's
hobo.
called, murder hobos.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do a Dungeons and Dragons episode and get in, because I know nothing
I
about
don't
this
either.
stuff. So it'll be fun to do like a whole. But you will have to tell me right now, though. Just quick question, like
Sure.
like if you're doing like a 2-year thing, do you choose to be celibate, or is that just how it works?
Well, it's only one night a week.
Oh,
So, you know.
okay. Just like for the next 2 years of my journey.
If you're the DM, then maybe.
Oh, if you're the DM, yeah, true. Lock it up.
If you're
Yeah.
just a player,
do what you
you can
want.
be as
If you're a
lazy
murder
as you
hobo,
want.
you can do whatever you want.
if you're a murder hobo, you're doing.
Do the
everything.
murder hobos get laid?
Probably.
But no, I would love to do one, because I think that we're in a time where, even though you said our like attention spans are super small and people maybe abandon it, I think in a way it might work counterculture soon, where people are just like, ooh, like craving that real like deep
slow
dive
down.
into a thing. Yeah, for sure.
And the ownership, yeah, because I feel like the beauty of it seems to be it's oral tradition. It's all these things that what humans have loved
culture.
as we've evolved as a culture. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's going back to your roots, but then it's still the same thing of, oh, anything can happen, and blah 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 blah. And so yeah, that's
Yeah,
what-
I
that's
won't
why-
pretend that I didn't get completely wrapped up into it. It got
Oh,
to
yeah.
the point too where my character almost died 2 or 3 times. Actually, technically did die once. And
You're
in
brought back by another
D&D,
character.
when your character dies in D&D, they're gone.
No.
So you're like
Um,
done, game over.
You can roll
Yeah.
a new character, but that character's tough.
Yeah, you can roll up, and it was part of the mechanic of the story that my character didn't die, but I didn't know that, and I was really upset for like.
Because how
2
far in were
hours.
you when that?
Half, like a year in.
Wow.
Year in.
Jeez.
your
So is that
character
where
died.
all the sort of urban legend came from, Dungeons and Dragons being like a bad thing because people would get so wrapped up in it that they
well,
would kill
50-50.
themselves?
Like,
Is
there
that
was-
part of where that came from?
Well, most of it came from like the Middle America, like it's devil worship and deals
Because
with
they're
demons.
demons, and,
Yeah.
and people would play as things, and so yeah,
Right.
it's
So there's
scary.
that, but it's funny. Tom Hanks, it was actually in a made-for-TV movie about just that, where a D&D character, a guy plays D&D,
Oh,
gets
nice.
so wrapped up in it, he like goes to a cave, and it's bonkers. I can't remember
I've
what
heard
it's called.
of it.
Can
it's
we
like
do that
Reefer
movie next week?
Madness.
Yeah, right.
Sure, yeah, that'd be a good little
Yes.
spin up.
Yeah. Supplemental.
Heading towards a campaign.
I'll
Yeah.
have to find it. Yeah, but
Well,
yeah,
when
no,
we do,
it's-
we should do it when we do the D&D episode.
Yeah.
For sure.
okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I still want to get put some fingers out and see if we can get some special guests on
yeah.
the show for that one. So
I'll
that'd be
get
super fun.
Mercer. What's his name? Yeah, I'll call him up.
Is he a murder hobo?
No, he's like the most. He's become the most famous DM.
Oh, really?
What's his name? He's Critical Role guy.
Do you know him?
There's no.
Oh, I was gonna say, cool. Call him.
Okay,
Let's
yeah.
go. Yeah.
Well, there's some big
Oh,
ones
who
like
you
The
know.
person you know is literally the person I was thinking of.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, there we
We're
go.
Like,
Yeah.
I watched some documentary on it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Does this person do this?" And you're like, "Maybe."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Here's a picture. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the person.
That's cool. Yeah, so it'll be fun. Yeah, and because it'll be fun education. I promise not to make any comments about the celibacy or anything. No, but but I'm actually like genuinely interested because I think that it's what we do as not only people who love story like we do in watching movies, but Eric, you create the costumes. We we mold the stories like it's.
Right.
We love storytelling.
Nick's got a really big grin
and the
on his face.
openness of it. Oh, here's a
Is
mini.
that your guy?
That's my
go
guy.
down.
Is that who
go
you
down
were?
a little bit. Not missing it. Oh,
Yeah.
Archer.
So yeah, there's a website called Hero Forge where you can customize.
I was looking at that today.
Yeah, you can customize and they'll 3D print your characters. So
Awesome.
For a gift after the 1 year, I made custom characters for all the people who play. So we would have minis.
Mm-hmm.
You're a good man.
I try. But yeah, no, I got real attached to my character.
Nice.
Yeah.
So.
That's great. I mean, it's like being in a movie. In a way, it's almost, I don't know, in a way, it's almost the same or healthier or whatever than our online presence or whatever.
Eric alluded to it. Like my buddy who ran it above and beyond. But he built a website and then he actually chronicled our adventure on the website, and he broke it into chapters and sections, so you could read it almost like an episodic long form series. And that's literally what it was. Is like sometimes we had weeks that were nothing like there was one week where we were just fighting like squirrels and rabbits or something like that, but then there was another week where we were fighting a parademon that had entered through a portal and had no idea what to do, just completely lost. So yeah, it changes, man. It's all over the place.
That's cool.
But it's a series. It wouldn't be a movie. It'd be like a full blown,
Right.
6 seasons in a movie kind of thing.
Yeah,
How
nothing
many
really.
were in your group?
Let's see. We started with 4, and then we picked up a 5th, and then we had 2 special guests that popped in to fill certain character roles at some point. But yeah, when we finished in Boston, let's see, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were 6 of us total finishing this adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not huge, but that's a good size for a DM. That's a fair amount of people to have to deal with.
The one flaw that D&D has is the way that you level. And we can definitely go into this in the episode, but trying to balance character abilities and storytelling is got to be the hardest job for the DM, because one week you present the group with a puzzle and they struggle to solve it, and then if they do, all of a sudden they level up, and then each character gets this swath of abilities, so that then the week right after that you give them the same puzzle and they're like, oh, watch this, blah, blah, and it's done. So it's like you have to balance. But then the other part too is like you don't want to have a DM who's kind of like peeking to see what your new abilities are. Like he would ask us certain things like, hey, so my character was a hunter, and at some point you get to choose like your specialty. So I went to fit into my character, I went like the naturalist, bow using beastmaster kind of thing. So that meant like my hand-to-hand combat was garbage, and Beastmaster gave me certain abilities for tracking and survival and stuff like that, but it did not make me like a ninja. Like I couldn't stealth and stuff like that, except if in nature. But so it's like he would ask me those type of things because he didn't want to say like, okay, well, I'm going to give you a puzzle that involves swinging from the trees like Tarzan, and my character be like, okay, easy, done and done and done. But he also wouldn't then be like, I need you to cast a spell to get out of here. And like, my character doesn't have spells, so I don't know what you want from me. Like I literally have no solution to this. And I know that even with our group of 5 or 6, that actually came up at some point. We were talking about, I don't have a spell for this, or I don't have a solution to this problem, or I don't. And so there's at one point where the solution was like, we just need to run, man. Like we
can't
stuck.
do that thing. Yeah.
We can roll the dice all day long, but we need to live. Yeah, we got to bail. And that was, I mean, that ended up being the solution. But even then, he had to like pivot and say, oh well, now I have to work on, because he'd built in this like kind of like a PUBG, like a shrinking perimeter type thing, and we were caught in the middle, and like we started to run, and he's like, well, that was supposed to be a murder perimeter, so
You can't all be killed right now.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, so we had to switch around like that, and yeah, it was a good time.
Right. That's crazy. It's involved.
Well, it's as involved as you want to be, which either can make it great or make it bad. Like not everyone went as nuts as I did. There's actually one guy with us who was famously just so casual about it, but it fit so well with his character.
If the character
that
works.
it was perfect. Yeah,
or if you're like, my character is a complete idiot with a big hammer. Well, what's he gonna do? Oh, you show up
he's not solving this cryptogram. He's gonna hit it with a rock. Yeah. And we had those discussions too, where stuff would come up where the person would solve the solution that way, but that's not how the character would do it. So we would kind of hold each other accountable a little bit, like, yeah, I know you have that thing, but would your dumb hammer swinger really like decrypt the codex? No. He's gonna hit the door with his hammer. Yeah. Right.
Ugg figured it out.
Exactly. So we had that kind of stuff a couple of times. We'd hold each other accountable, or even certain things like the mechanics of certain things where you have area of effect. So something will take place over like a 10-foot square. Some people can shape that so it doesn't hit. Some people it's just a dumb, I'm going to drop a fireball. Everyone takes fire damage. Some of them can be shaped where you could be like, well, it's a cone, but I want to start the cone right on his face, and it goes backwards. So we had those type of discussions sometime too, where he'd be like, so are you standing right next to that guy? You're like, yeah, I just hit him with a sword. Okay, I need you to roll for damage then, because you definitely got burned by this fire. So it was that kind of stuff that you have to work in, and you have to work the language and have the trust amongst each other to be like, no, I rolled backwards 10 feet. Like, did you? No.
Yeah, right. Or you're this awesome wizard and you did this crazy thing in a tiny room. Well, here's the
that happened, which was awesome, because we had one that was described. We were in a 10x10 room, and our wizard was like, I cast fireball, and he's like, isn't that 20 feet across?
Whoops.
So this entire room is in flames.
Covered
you vaporize everything. Everyone roll damage, and we were like, oh shit.
Thanks a lot, wizard.
But that keeps it in check. Yeah, right. That's the game, evening everything out. Where you go, well, there's a wizard, but
yeah.
I cast Huey the Love Huey. Wait.
Get in there.
Huey the Love Chopper.
Huey.
Huey the Love Chopper.
Huey the Love Chopper.
It's a 10x10 room. Oh, Huey's dead.
Oh shit!
Conk, 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 conk.
You're all decapitated.
Yeah. I had one little mini adventure where I tamed a woolly mammoth, and I surfed it like Teen Wolf into battle. So I was shooting arrows off the top of a woolly mammoth while it was trampling things.
Nice.
Aragorn.
That's fun time.
Or Legolas stuff.
Yeah. We actually called it the
Movie
Legolas moment.
Yeah.
That's a Lord of the Rings reference, Brian. Just in case. You need to know. All right, folks. We're going to wrap it up right there with all the D&D talk that you could desire.
The juicy D.
The juicy Ds. So thanks for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed the conversation about Ex Machina, about full stat creation, and of Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. So find us on the old YouTube, obviously on the Facebook Live, but also Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Good night.
Later.
Gotta figure out which one I have to